we were pissing neon green every day.
The big ball of heat in the sky was too much.
I thought there was a
bear.
Reality goes, yeah, fresco. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, everybody. What's up, everybody?
Welcome to
StouryTime.
StouryTime. Hey, everybody. Welcome to StouryTime with John and Friends. I'm your host, John. You may know today's guest from playing in bands like Light Years and No Pressure. Please welcome my friend, Pat Kennedy. Pat, thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Dude, thanks for having me. Excited
Absolutely.
to be here.
It has been a while, my friend.
Yeah, yes, it has, for sure.
Why don't you start off by just telling the people a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Pat Kennedy, from Cleveland, Ohio. I played in a band called Light Years many, many years. I currently play in a band called No Pressure. Light Years is still playing. We didn't break up, but throwing the disclaimer. And I do a lot of other touring as well with tour managing, merch with bands like Citizen, kind of my main guys. But yeah, I do all that. I also work at a dope pizza shop. Shout out Ohio Pie Co. If
Hell
you're in
yeah.
the Cleveland area, come get a pie. You can find me there, or I'll be hopefully on the road as long as my old body can hold up.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all your success with the new band and everything that you've been up to. You've
Dude,
been busy,
thanks.
man.
Been busy. It was crazy. We started the band for fun, and then it got super, like getting offers and doing stuff. And when I look back, I'm like, we did a whole band's career in like 7 months.
Yeah,
And,
seriously.
it was nuts. Yeah.
I was looking at your guys' Instagram earlier, and I was like, you're not just touring, you're like Australia, Japan, going back to Japan. Like, you guys are all over the friggin' place.
Because when you think, you're like, oh, we just want to do like the cool stuff. Like, we don't want to deal with, the years of other stuff that we did that sucked. And
Yeah.
like, well, like, going to Japan, going to show the cool stuff you can do. And then we do it, and it's like, it's actually super hard, flying 20 hours, still doing the shows. You know what I mean? And it is it's so rewarding, but it is still like, I'm like, wow, we are far away from home and I'm tired. But we're going to Japan in like a week, so I'm super excited.
That's sick.
To go
that's,
back.
That's
Yeah.
with Ice Girls.
Yeah,
Ice Girls is doing that.
Yeah, he's the man over there. He's taking care of Light Years, so all our other bands as well. So he's the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did the band form? Like what I know you said it was for fun, but how did it all come together?
Yeah. I give credit to Harry, the drummer, as being the brainchild, because he was like, I just want to start this band that's like really old school Blink, old school Saves the Day, Lifetime, which is all the stuff I've been trying to write my whole life too. So it was easy. And he's like thinking like me, Parker's down, and I was like, okay. So originally it was just us three, and it happened right before the pandemic. Like,
Okay.
the idea came, and me and Harry had wrote a couple riffs and sent them over to Parker, and he had some vocals on it. And then the pandemic came, and I don't know if it helped or hurt, but like we kind of took our time because there was no rush, and like Parker took his time on the vocals, and that first EP came out, and I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and which is a good sign. And then it was kind of just, we didn't know if we'd ever play a show because A, the pandemic was happening, B, we're all three in different places, and luckily it kind of aligned, and we played a lot of shows. And then we were able to do an LP, which was basically just us three again jamming out in a room, and kind of went to the studio pretty quick. Like, we wrote songs for a week, went to the studio like the next week, just so it was raw, fresh. You know what I mean? It wasn't like,
Yeah.
when you make a record, sometimes you're like honing every little detail. It was just the complete opposite. And I think you can tell it's like very real and fresh. And
Yeah, that's awesome. It's
it is
also
what it
punk
is,
as
It's punk as dude, So
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna kind of throw some questions out there, and then we'll jump into some stories if you got them. But so while you guys were writing this, you said your influences and everything, but what was the writing process like as far as that went? Because you are all in different, locations.
Yeah. So originally it was Harry came out to Ohio, I believe, and we recorded the music. Like I would send iPhone demos and stuff to him and Parker and be like, got this, and they'd be like, well, that sucks, this is cool, this is bad, you know what I mean? And then Harry, once we are in the room together, it's just kind of like, that's cool, cut that, put this in there, put that, you know what I mean? Like it's real quick. But originally Harry came to Cleveland. We did some stuff with our dude Dave Piatek, who recorded Light Years back in the day.
Shout out.
And shout out. I don't know if I'll ever hear this, but if he's the man. And then so we sent to Parker. He has his guy in San Francisco, threw vocals on it. But it was cool for the LP. We actually went to California and just had a practice space. And like Parker was playing bass, I was playing guitar. And it was just kind of like throwing ideas around. And I was like, I have this riff. Where can it go? And then how about this? That's cool. You know, it was never like, oh, what are we trying to say here? You know, like, and it's like, well, what if the song just ended there? Yeah, sure. We don't need another chorus, you know? And, but yeah. And then, so that was kind of the whole writing thing. We have AJ who plays bass live for us and now is, you know, helping write too. And, he came and recorded on the LP because he's phenomenal. And he killed it. And then our friend Mike Body plays rhythm guitar for us and he's a wild guy. So, but yeah, as far as writing, it was pretty simple. I mean, I don't want to take away from the music because I think it's awesome. And calling it simple to me maybe makes it sound less than, but I don't know.
It was organic. It was organic.
It's organic.
Yeah.
That's the word I need.
That's the word.
And it's it was all of us in the same, we were all on the same page. You know what I mean? At the same exact time. And it's like, we knew, and no one got mad if you were like, I'm not feeling that. You know, there was no fighting. It was just like, okay, move on. You know what I mean? And so that was refreshing. That's just like so fun and organic is perfect word to describe that, John. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's obvious that, you know, with that explanation that you guys were all excited for the new project and everything too. So it all, you know, came together organically. And
sir.
That's awesome. I love hearing that because it's like, you know, being in Light Years for so long and doing the grind, sometimes that shit kind of wears on you. So it's fun to do a new project. So very cool,
for sure. And I you know, there wasn't any like, you know, with Light Years, it was like, well, I was the singer and we were purposely like, we don't want to do the social media crap and the like play any sort of game with labels and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was just, we're going to put this out ourselves. What happens, what happens. And, you know, it was never, you know, we didn't plan a release date and we didn't plan like, I guess we did plan a release date because you have to, but we didn't plan like we're going to drop this single. We're going to tease this. We're going to, you know, it was none of that. It was like, we made these songs. Here you go. So I thought that was pretty unique, not unique, but like fresh for us and in our world. It was pretty fun to do. Just cut out the middleman, no bullshit. Just,
very cool, very cool. Punk is
punk is that's the key. Yes.
So is there any, so when you guys are playing, is there any like pre-show rituals that you guys may do beforehand?
Not too many, which is funny because we'll talk about, we're like, I feel like we're pros to the point where we care about how we sound and we care about the performance, but it's not like I'm not out there like I need my, like we'll show up, like we toured crazy Indonesia and we were just like, well, we'll see what kind of amps we have there. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't, we didn't have like the specific backline request and we're not going to go on stage. So I was like, well, that amp looks like it turns on, so we'll make it sound good. But like for the most part, it's just kind of like hopefully everybody's at the stage at the right time to get on. And you know, sometimes I'm like, is he gonna make it in time or is he still down the street? You know what I mean? Is Harry getting food right now? Like, but yeah, so usually it's pretty low key for no pressure for sure. It's just,
it's the perfect name, honestly.
It really fits. And it embodies everything about the band is just no pressure.
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I reached out to you because you're a longtime friend. We met years ago. Sir. Actually, I was thinking about that today. I think the first time we met, we both played in Edinburgh.
Okay, yeah. At the college?
I think it was Light Years, Penamento, and then I was in a different band at the time called Voice of Autumn.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's the
yeah,
first time we met, and then after that, just playing shows
for
through
sure.
the years. But yeah,
Yeah, we played Buffalo a lot, and I feel like I don't know, maybe because I see the Penamento Flyer back there, but we always were with them, and I
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
that helped us
yeah, and
come
so
up
was
there.
the
But
the traditional jump played a lot of those shows and
for
stuff too.
sure, yeah, for sure, I remember. Yeah, the Edinburgh show, it's crazy. I can like specifically see it was like an auditorium like vibe, like
Yeah, but it was like three
on the
steps up the
floor. Yeah,
stage,
yeah, it
kind
was
of.
a
Yeah,
floor
like
show.
very
Yeah,
small steps.
basically.
Super weird, but yeah,
Yeah. Damn, was that 2012? Maybe before?
maybe
2011?
before, maybe before.
Maybe
Yeah,
before, man.
yeah,
Dude,
long
the hell are
time,
we
man.
doing?
And you're still playing music, and I'm not.
I'm still, no, you're not nothing anymore? Or any
I do
bands?
like here and there. Me and Anthony started another band called Genesee Hotel, which is like I guess you could say like a '90s pop
Fuck
era
yeah.
sounding. But we're
Yeah,
not very active.
sure.
We're just life, man. He's got two kids. I have a kid. Everybody's
Yeah,
so busy, So
yeah,
we try and get together when we can. But yeah.
yeah. That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah. So I reached out and I wanted to catch up and see if you had any stories for us. Let's just dive right in. What do you got for me?
Dude, it's crazy because you mentioned this, and I was thinking of all the stories and the years of touring, and everything was kind of that era that was like quote unquote crazy or like
Yeah, yeah.
absurd because you have no idea what you're doing. And we were like, sure, full US tour, no money. It was
Yeah.
like my favorite story to tell. It's not really a story, but like an anecdote is like when we were doing this a lot and like a family friend or a coworker of that's not in this world would be like, well, how much do you get paid? And I remember being like, oh, well, usually we get about $100, at a show.
If
And he
we're
was like,
lucky.
that's not too bad. $100 each. I could see. I was like, no, 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 no. We get $100 total for 5 people and the van and the play. You know what I mean? They were like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I was like, you just got to know. You just can't. You wouldn't understand. But dude, like the first. So I would say that we did a full US with Penamento, and it was like when I dropped out of school because we had done like little weekend stuff and like
Hmm.
we had spring breaks that we did a week with the band. There was a winter break. Do you remember the band True Things from New Jersey? They were just like a pop punk. It was really fun. And but I was like, okay, this is kind of what I want to do for sure. And so the opportunity came to do a full US, and I was in college, but just kind of biding my time to not be in college. And we, convinced everyone to drop out. We're like, let's do a semester off, blah, blah, blah. I'll go back, mom. Don't worry. I
Yeah,
will
right.
never go back. Come on. 10 years later, 12, oh my God, 12 years later, Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm not going back. But that's where it was not. It's like it was our first time going. Like, I remember every day we're like, oh, this is the furthest west I've ever been in my life, like every state. And
Yeah.
it was pretty brutal. Some of the shows were pretty brutal, but we had the best time. I have specific memories of. We don't have. This will be fine. I'm not gonna name names. We played a show in the middle of Boise. It was Boise, Idaho. Really cold. We did this in January, which was stupid, but it's freezing, and we're like, doing the classic, "Hey, buddy, got a place to stay," put us up. And the actual owner, I don't know if she was the owner of the venue or she was a production person, some like an older put together woman is like, you guys can stay at my house, like both bands, us and Penamento. We were like, we hit the jackpot because she looked like a mom, like she was like a mom, like, like
Yeah.
drove a nice car. We were like, wow, after weeks of, whatever, we're gonna get a good night. She's like, yeah, you can stay in my garage. We're like, okay, like must be like a nice garage, sure. It is 10 degrees outside. It's freezing. And we pull up and she's like, all right, like here's the garage, like take it easy, like locks the door to the house, which
Hmm.
is understandable. There's 20 grown men weirdos. And we're like, but it's just a garage, like it's just the cement floor, freezing cold. Like I was like, she's like, yeah, like put your stuff. And I was like, can we just like pull our van in the garage, like and sleep in the van? She's like, why would you want to do that? Like, and I was like, this is crazy. I was like, we're gonna do that. Penamento had a trailer, and they couldn't come in the garage, so they were screwed. They stayed on the street, just slept in their van. But so she left. There was like a mud room with a bathroom, which was nice. That like couldn't get into the house. Understandable. No, no, no. But there was like a little toilet in there, and so someone clogged the toilet, and there was no plunger, and it just kept getting worse as the night went on because no one did anything about it, and it was really gross. And I feel really bad, but we got the hell out of there as soon as we could, and we were like, I guess we can't play that venue ever again. But
Yikes.
it was bad. It was just like, shit on top of shit, and it was like, we gotta get out of here, man. This is bad. But that was brutal. I'm sorry to that woman. But come on, just don't even offer us this play. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was. I was like, oh, she's gonna have like a finished garage or something with a heater.
Yeah.
And it was anyone's garage in the world. But
Arguably worse than a van where you can turn the heat on at times
Yes.
to try and warm up. Yeah.
Yes, turn the heat, because actually in the garage we couldn't turn the van on, we would die.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have rather stayed at the Walmart or the truck stop, which was a regular thing. But I have a pretty vivid memory of a nice night in the van. It was the Colorado Welcome Center. When you go into a new state and they have the nice rest area, the Welcome Center. I think it was the same tour, and it was just I have like a vivid memory of like waking up and it wasn't hot and there was no gross people walking around. It was cool. I have a memory of that. It was like cool outside. But it was a Colorado Welcome Center. There was like a little buffalo cut out. But yeah, most stories are bad. We did same tour. We drove from, mind you, it was our first time out anywhere cool. We were supposed to go from Portland, Oregon to Reno, Nevada. And did not know that went through like mountains, like the Donner
Pretty sure that
Pass.
goes like through the Rockies, doesn't it?
It was, yeah. And everyone was like, it's winter. And everyone was like, yo, you guys have like chains for your tires? And we were like, what are those? Like, no. They're like, well, you're gonna die tonight on this drive. And we were like, we're from Cleveland, man. Like we got this.
We
drive it
there.
We know what winter is. And the thing is, it wasn't even like, I learned so much about the world touring, and I recommend anyone to do it because I wouldn't know what tire chains are, which we still didn't get. We were like, fuck it. But we're driving up. It wasn't even snowing. Like, it wasn't cold or anything. But in the fucking mountains, it's snowing all the time when you're up there, especially in January. And I remember specifically our drummer at the time, Dan, who was a Syracuse guy, was driving the van, and I was just in the passenger seat, like, I have to fall asleep because if I die, it won't be as bad.
You won't know. Yeah.
I'll just wake up dead. It was just all of a sudden just snow, and he's going like 5 miles per hour. It's like, and I was like, we should not have done this. And we don't have the chains. We need the chains. There was like, there were signs like chain up station, and I was like, what would that even do? But we survived. We made it to Reno, played in the garage, and it was actually awesome. It was pretty scary. Yeah.
We did a full US with A Fortune and Fame. And
nice. I remember that. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So we did a full US. It was wintertime as well. 60 days, and we drove through the Rockies as well. And I just remember, so we borrowed a van, a 15-passenger van, and then we had a I think a 10-foot trailer or something like that. But it was 9 dudes in one van, both bands in one van. And I just remember driving through the Rockies, and you're like, man, it's really snowing hard. This is like kind of crazy, especially being from Buffalo. But then you're like, all right, maybe just tap the brakes. And you even touching the brakes, you just start sliding. with
Yeah,
and you feel the
yeah.
trailer kind of starting to move to the side. That was, dude, it's terrifying. It's absolutely
It's really,
terrifying.
and it is a thing that like people die crashing in the rock. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's truly absurd, and only my 23-year-old self would be like, dude, we're fine. You know, now
Yeah.
I'd be like, we're fine. I don't know. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
We're getting the chains for sure.
Would you what
Definitely
so
getting.
that actually brings me to my a question. So what do you feel from like when you were touring so heavily in the beginning with Light Years? What is the major difference between that and touring with No Pressure and TMing and everything now?
It is it. It's truly. I want to say not night and day, but it makes so all the stuff and shit that I went through with Light Years touring and just figuring it out. If you apply it to a band that doesn't need to do that stuff, but you still are, thinking of like, oh, what's the cheapest way we can do this? I'll take on this responsibility. Like, I think, most everyone in No Pressure comes from that background of they grinded for a while and
Mhm.
now we get paid at the show, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
instead of being like, well, we need to hire all these people and do all this, it's like, well, I can do that, and I know how to blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever. I can rent the van with the trailer, and
Mhm.
cut costs there. But someday, just getting a hotel every night is like living like a god to me. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I remember the first time when I was doing merch, I think for Citizen, and they were at the point when they're like, "Well, we get a hotel," and I was like, "Holy shit, this is game changing," And
Yeah.
they only would stay with people that they knew had like a nice place, which is probably what we would do now, But
Mhm.
for the most part, we'll get two hotel rooms, and I'm like, I love this. I cannot believe how cool this is because just the small things like that is really sweet. Or going overseas now, it isn't like, okay, everyone, we gotta, save up your money for 6 months to buy this plane ticket. And
Mhm.
it feels good, at least breaking even when you do stuff like that, because that was never the case
Yeah.
before. But so I definitely am so grateful for it. And I sometimes I'll even have to remind myself, like, holy shit, like you did it. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like you got a hotel room.
Hell yeah.
Dude, wake up.
And you're doing
You're
it the
still
way that
doing
you
it.
always strive to do it when you started,
Yeah,
you know?
100%, 100%. And it wasn't like, some goofy thing we did to quote unquote sell out. I don't know. Because in looking back at Light Years, I always think like, oh, if I was a little more annoying and begged for the right tour, which I could never do, like, would it have been different? Probably not. Probably the same. We did a lot of big tours and cool tours, but I was never willing to do the like. I don't want to say groveling, but you would see it. You know what I'm talking about? These bands would be
Yeah.
like, "Da, da, da, da." And I'm like, dude, you're just embarrassing yourself now. But
Yeah.
then they would get the tour and they're they're rich and famous, and I'm
Yeah,
just,
nothing
don't
better
have
than
chains.
at the end of a set a punk band goes, "If anybody's got some room on their floor for us."
Oh yeah,
Which
yeah.
I understand it. We've done it, but
Yeah, I did it a million times.
it is
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
just like, come on.
I think
And
I
dude,
don't
there was a point our friend, um, we're name nameless, but his cousin would always let us stay. She was a little younger with her family in Massachusetts. And there was a time when I was like, well, she's like out of school now. And like that, I was just like, it's us hanging out with like her parents, and they're like, "What are you guys doing?" It was
Mhm.
so. I was like, "We can't stay here anymore." Like,
Yeah.
I just feel I'm almost as old as them, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Can I sleep at your house?" Like, what the fuck? It was funny, but they were nice, super nice family, super nice house. Shout out to them. But it was always I always felt kind of like, yeah, I'm as old as your dad. Like, and I'm begging him to sleep on his floor.
That's hilarious. It's funny too because like, you know, I've come across a lot of people that I've interviewed and had conversations with through the podcast that like they'll explain their first tours and they're like, yeah, we did this and then hotel and blah. I'm like, your experiences are so different than mine and
Yeah,
so many people I grew up with.
yeah. I don't know if that's good, because
Yeah.
then if your baseline is, well, we get a Holiday Inn every night, then it's like, I don't know. I don't trust you.
For real. You
You
didn't
know?
sleep in a Walmart parking lot for a week
Dude,
straight? Come on.
yes. Oh my God. Or just the random, or in a positive light, I have friends to this day who open their house to us, and I did the same, when I could in Cleveland. If a band I knew needed a place to stay, so many bands stayed at our place. Um, but it was kind of a little community, of people that were
Absolutely.
like, and so the people that did open their homes to us, even if it was fucked up gross, I still, at the end of the day, appreciated it. We did similar vibe. This just popped in my mind. We were on tour with them. Do you remember the band The Fake Boys?
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
like a tour with them. Similar, we played. It was a youth center of a church. Classic punk vibes. But side note, the Fake Boys had a shirt that said "Jesus didn't die for you and doesn't give a fuck about you," or something like that. And I was like, that's probably, they're the nicest people ever, and
Yeah.
the church people were super nice. And I think it was more just a kid rented the room, so it wasn't like a
Yeah.
church event. But I remember being like, maybe don't sell that one tonight. I don't know, but
Or like sell it at the van, out of the van.
yeah, if you really want it. But I mean, they didn't give a fuck, and it was sweet. But the similar vibe, the like the leader of the place, like this like youth guy. I don't know. He was older, and he was like, "Boys, stay with me tonight. I'll make you dinner." And like whatever. We're like, "Oh my God, jackpot!" House is so fucked up. Like it's just a single guy, and he had a
Yeah.
ferret that didn't live. It just ran like a dog, like, which is cool. Let the ferret live, but if he shit everywhere, please,
Pick it up.
do what you want, man. But it was
Like,
just, there was ferret shit. He had like a lot. It was like Atlanta. It was somewhere in the Georgia. He had a lot of guns, which is it was kind of scary because he was like seemed crazy.
yeah.
Not that I don't think he should have it, but I was like, dude, who are you? Why are you showing us this rifle right now? But the Lord give us, man. He made us some pasta or something. It was one of the most fucked up places we stayed, just because of the amount of shit, and
Hmm.
just it was just shocking to come into. It was in like a nice neighborhood, like I don't know, but thanks to that guy, it was cool. But the
When
ferret, I'll never forget.
That's
Ugh.
wild. The animal thing is weird because it's like I love animals, but like maybe just don't offer for me to sleep on your floor if you have cats that piss everywhere. You
Dude,
know?
I 100% agree. And
I,
I had a cat that pissed everywhere, and so you can't
yeah,
stay in that
yeah.
room. You know what I mean? My
Mhm.
friends, one of the last bands I stayed over, like she fucked up this room. She would just, this is a whole nother podcast I need to talk to someone about, but she just peed right next to her litter box for so long, in this one little room. And this guy's like, "I'm gonna go sleep in there." I was like, you can't. He's like, "There's a whole room. It's empty." I was like, "It's empty because it's poison. It's you simply can't go in there." And he's like, "All right, sorry, but so sorry you have to go sleep on the worst place." But yeah, if I don't know, I knew better, but yeah, animals are rough.
On that full
I love
US
them.
we did with A Fortune and Fame, the first week was Halloween. It was like within the first
Nice.
couple days. And we played a house show, a house party. It was incredible. Like, I don't know, 50, 60 kids in this basement in Kansas City.
Love
And
that.
we're all dressed up, being goofy, drunk, everybody smoking weed in the bay, like all this crazy shit. And it's in this neighborhood that like, you like pull up to this house and you're like, are we in the right spot? Because it's just
Yeah,
this punk
yeah,
kid that
yeah.
lives in this house by himself. And it's this massive,
I'm
beautiful
having
house,
shows.
but there's nothing in the house, right? So it's like, are you
Yeah,
squatting or
yeah.
what's going on? But so he goes after the show, he's like, yeah, you guys can crash, just sleep in the basement, whatever. So everybody's getting ready for bed or whatever. I take out my sleeping bag, get ready. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I'm like, God, it smells like BO. What the fuck is that? I can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. And then
Yeah,
Ian from Unfortunate Fame goes, that's cat piss, man.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
no. Let me tell you something. It pissed on everything I owned. Everything.
Oh
It
no,
it
dude.
pissed on me in the sleeping bag. It pissed on my pillow next to my head. It pissed on my bag, my duffel bag that had literally
dude.
every piece of clothing I owned. It
Yeah,
pissed on
did
it.
the whole tour. Yeah.
So I wasn't allowed to leave any of my shit in the van. It was all in the trailer for like the remainder of the
Yes.
tour. But like the next day, luckily somebody let us crash, and they were like, you can wash your clothes and stuff. I was like
Yeah.
how many times? Because
Yeah, because
it's
this
gonna
is
take a while.
poison. Yeah.
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 So, dude, fucking animals,
Brutal.
man. It's
I love cats too, and it's just like, please don't pee anymore
yeah.
near me.
Well, the
But
kicker was too. This dude was like, "Oh, the cat's litter trained and all this stuff," and we're like, "Okay." So then
it was just pissed off, dude. It was
no, dude, no. The next day, we're getting ready to leave, and this dude's talking to some girl, and he's like, "Yeah, so I found the cat. I got a new cat. I found it in the alleyway a week ago." I'm like,
you
dude,
lied.
you straight up like
Just
maybe don't let it downstairs. I don't know,
yeah,
dude. Oh,
just block it off. Don't let it
fucking
near
nightmare,
me.
dude.
Cats are bad. They're assholes, dude. That's kind of why I
Yeah.
like them though.
I'm not a big cat guy just because of that tainted
Yeah,
me, man.
that ruined it. That
Forever.
ruined
Yeah.
it. For sure, for sure. I don't blame you. And then the smell is just so you can't get rid of it.
Yeah, it's like pungent and it lingers forever.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's terrible.
Yeah, fuck cats actually. This is another bad. So we were on I'll say his name. He's my guy. Matt Medina. He ran a record label called Animal Style.
Mhm.
I don't think it's still he does other stuff now, but awesome, great friend. Lets us crash at his house in LA, which is always the hardest place to get anywhere. He's putting out our EP Temporary. Shout out 10 years ago. Actually, the other day I saw on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, should do a real big show for that. Tens of people would care. But for some, like this tour, it kind of like each person got sick, throughout the tour. Like a bug was just kind of going through our van. I got it earlier that week literally in the van. I threw up in the wheel well. I was like, please pull over, but we were on the highway. You know what I mean? You can't I just puked in the van. I felt so bad. It's the worst spot.
Mhm.
At least I got it like, we just kind of wiped it out with the windshield wiper thing at the gas station,
Yeah.
so. But like our merch guy got sick at the one show, just couldn't even get out of the van. But so it was kind of coming for all of us, but it hit our bass player Tommy and drummer Kent the same night in Matt's house. Kent is in the bathroom puking and shitting at the same time. He said he got it all over his clothes. I'm sleeping through this whole thing, thank God. Tommy, our bass player, needs to throw up too. There's only one bathroom, so he's throwing up in his sink, which is bad. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Better than the floor.
Unfortunately, then Matt and his wife, the nicest people of all time, and Kent goes to use the washing machine because he threw up on his clothes and his sleeping bag. The washing machine is broken, and like just it filled up with water and like just stayed. It didn't drain
Yeah.
after it washed. And then Kent like put it in the dryer and like he's still sick in the morning. I'm like, we have to go. Like they gotta go to work. I didn't know this happened. Kent's like out sick. Tommy, same thing. Like tries to clean the sink best he could. We're like, so sorry, man. We gotta go. He's sick. He texted me like, yo, did you use the washer? And I was like, no, like I didn't. And Ken's like, oh yeah, I did. I was like, he's like, it's broken. It's full of like shitty pukey water. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
No.
And to this day, like we apologized profusely. Like to this day, he still gives me shit for it. He'll be like, dude, did you wreck anyone else's houses lately? Wreck any washers? I was like, I'm so sorry. Because that was like, I didn't never want to get that label, It's like, oh, don't
Yeah.
let Lightyear stay with you because they fuck up your house. And
Mhm.
of course, there's the guy who's about to put out a record and it was super cool to me. I was like, but hey, dude, you're sick on tour is actually the worst ever.
Yeah.
You just want to die. So sorry, Matt. I'll buy you a new washer. No pressure to get you a new washer.
I don't know that we've ever really been sick except for once, like Anthony got alcohol poisoning because we played in Syracuse at like the Homeward House, which was like the Unfortunate Fame guy's house, and then we played in Schenectady the next day, and we stayed with the Paganos.
Okay. Yeah.
And he played, and then immediately after he played, he just walked outside and vomited all over the side of the building. And
Brutal.
then went in the van and just died, like,
Yeah.
for the next 2 days or whatever. But
That's a terrible feeling.
yeah, that's about it. I just we were pretty fortunate, I guess, but which
Yeah.
makes no sense because, like, looking back on it now, especially like in your early 20s, you're just so gross. Like, you're
Yeah.
not showering
Oh,
every
yeah.
day. We had, like, someone gave us pizza and we like put it in the center like bin that we had and forgot about it. And like 2 days later, I went out and ate it. Like, just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, sure. This will be good. That's fine. Dude,
so stupid.
yes. Oh my God. But you gotta do what you gotta do.
For sure, man. I mean, it made me stronger. That's all I'll say.
That's what I'm saying. These people that didn't do this, they're like, oh yeah, my first tour was in a Sprinter van with a
Yeah.
whatever. Fuck you.
Yeah,
You didn't eat
you.
you didn't eat the 2-day old Little Caesars. I did.
So
I remember seeing like getting a hot and ready pizza was like a dream. Like the promoter's like, I got pizza. Like it was
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And now I wouldn't even touch that. But the $5 hot and ready, come on, man. But at the time I was like, oh my God, this is gold.
Yeah, because you're living off maybe $5 a day. You get a
Yes.
whole fucking pizza. You're
Yes.
good. You're golden.
Yes.
You don't have to
Yes.
call a Chipotle and beg for free food. Like,
Dude,
come
that
on.
was those were amazing when it happened,
For sure.
but
It was such a win.
yeah, we did a couple because we're like, oh, how far can we go? And there's a chain in the Midwest called Crystal, like burgers, like
Mhm.
kind of like White Castle. And we told them we tried it because we were just calling every place at that point, being like, hey, maybe it'll work. And they were the only other place that gave us a free bag of burgers once and fries. But the Chipotle thing was, oh my God. I don't even know how that happened. Who figured that out?
I have no
But
idea.
I thank them.
Yeah, seriously. And I don't even
Yeah.
know if they still would do that, but I like to
I
think
don't
so.
think so.
I don't
Yeah. I don't think they do it. I remember it kind of dried up for us at least, and all my little scripts were getting rejected, but
Yeah.
we'd always give them like a CD or something.
Yeah, that was
But
like
they,
always we'll throw you like a couple stickers and a
yeah.
CD, and then they were like, yeah, come on through. So
Yeah. Do you want this shirt no one's buying? So we have to get rid of it. Can you please take it?
it's gonna be worth something
Dude,
someday.
yeah, trust me. Keep your eyes open. We did this thing where we were in Europe, and we would do a thing where we would play, like, you could play a game to win a shirt, like pay $1, we and roll the dice. I forget what we did in Europe, but I was literally trying to give. We made these crew necks that were pretty bad, I guess, and this kid was like, I was like, oh dude, like you want this crew neck, like, because we didn't want to fly home with anything, and he was like, I don't want that, and I was like, dude, just take it, please. He was like, can I just take like something else? And I was like, I guess, but I'll give you this. And he's like, I was just take both. And he's like, no, keep it. You know what I mean? I was like, well, we missed on this design pretty bad.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it felt good.
So I was looking at your Instagram, and you went to New Zealand, and I saw that you went to the Lord of the Rings, like the
Bro,
Hobbit town.
yes.
All right, let's talk. 'Cause
Amazing.
That's like a dream of mine.
Here's the thing. I'm a casual Lord of the Rings fan,
Yeah.
read the books, like the movies. And my two friends I went with, Harry and Body from Low Pressure, were like, it's amazing. You have to go. And I was like, okay, I'm in. And I wasn't like dying to go. Like, I no, I'm sorry to you're just telling me it was your life dream. But I'm telling you, it was amazing because you are in another world. Already being in New Zealand is another place. It's like I've never seen. But then to go there, and they built it in the hills, and it's just, oh my God, you're in the movie, and they feed you, and you get to have this whole thing, and it was amazing. And I recommend, if you go, to go. And they show you kind of like the movie magic secrets of how they do the forced perspective of a door, and how they made Gandalf look so tall, you know what I mean? And Bilbo walking out of his little house, why it looks so cool, so
yeah,
I really like that stuff too, behind
that's awesome.
the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they fed us feast, second breakfast.
Hell
It
yeah.
was great. Yeah, it was sweet. It's worth the
Afternoon
trip.
tea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love that.
It was dope.
So when you're out touring, like, is there any places that is your favorite to go as far as like a country or a city that it just like you look forward
Yeah,
to it the most?
I'm a big fan of kind of the Pacific Northwest
Okay.
now in my life. Like, not even really because of the shows, but like it's usually always cool. I'm so over being warm right now,
Yeah.
especially in September. I'm done with summer, man. Let's go. But I'm a big fan of like the Seattle, Portland area. Um, Mostly for like you're just on the water and it feels good. The coffee's amazing.
Hmm.
And then right, I mean, I think everyone who's been would say Japan is just bonkers. It's like they treat you so well. It is like because you go to Europe and it's really cool, but you still feel like I can see the like this looks kind of like Boston. I don't know. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I mean, they have like shit that's way older than our country, but you'll be like, but Japan is like another world, and it looks just like the movies. It looks like the video games, like the streets, the alleys, the vending machines of bullshit everywhere, and it's just really cool. And I actually can't wait to go again in a couple weeks. So about a week, 2 weeks. I don't know. What am I even? But I love Japan. The people are amazing. And that is really uh like the language barrier is real. Like
Yeah.
sometimes because in Europe everyone can speak English pretty well. And I mean obviously everyone in Japan they can get by, but sometimes they'll just look at you like, sorry, can't help you, and like keep walking. I remember like we were trying to find our way on the train, which was crazy in itself. And I was trying to ask him, and I was like, I need to get to here. And he just was like, sorry, just kept bowing. And I was like, oh my God, am I stuck here? Like this
Yeah.
is crazy. And I'd like use like my phone to translate. But so you really are out there. You're in a different spot, and
Yeah.
it's cool. I love it.
What's the most obscure
Yeah.
thing you've eaten out there?
So maybe not Japan, anything that crazy. So I was a vegetarian for most of my life until 2022, 21, when No Pressure was doing like we did Australia, Indonesia, Singapore. I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm off the wagon hard. And I have never gone back. But um
Welcome to the dark side.
dude, it's so much better over here. I didn't know. Because at a certain point it just became habit to be I was just eating like a vegetarian, like kind of shit. But we were in it was Jakarta. Yeah, Jakarta, Indonesia. And the promoter were like, hey, take us to a place that you guys eat. And he's like, sweet, got you. And we go to this restaurant on the street, and it's just there's just plates of things on the table, and like you just kind of eat it.
Hmm.
And I didn't know what half of it was. And I'd be like, what is this? And he'd be like, it's good, it's good. And then we'd all take a bite and be like, okay. And he's like, oh, that was bull penis. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? And I was like, he's like, you're not trying to like trick us, but he knew we wouldn't eat it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was fine. It didn't taste bad. It didn't taste great. But, and then the whole fish, the whole fish with the eye still there. And I was like, I can't do it, man. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
I'll eat the tail. Like, but the head is crazy.
Mine
And
don't
someone just went
matter.
like, yeah, that was pretty crazy. But the Japan is amazing sushi. Like it's just kind of, like I said, it might even be a stereotype, but the sushi train wheel, it's just so good.
Oh
But
yeah.
eat a lot of that. But the bull testicle or penis was probably the
Your favorite?
craziest, but I I wasn't gonna not eat it, man. I was gonna be the only one.
For sure, man.
So
I
that's
mean,
why I'm not a vegetarian, so I can eat bull cock.
I'm never going back. That's
That's what
hilarious.
sealed it.
That's so funny. Um,
Yeah.
what are the fan interactions like with No Pressure? Like, because you guys, it's
It's
funny.
a lot of, hey, where's Parker? Hey, is Parker
Actually, I
coming
reached
over
out to
here?
you because he
You're
didn't
cool,
respond.
but
So
yeah. I figured.
oh,
No,
that's so funny. I actually didn't, but that's
I'll hit
too
him up for
funny.
you, man. Yeah.
That's so funny. Do you guys
But yeah,
like?
no.
You kind of like it's I don't know. It's weird. Like when you guys released that first EP and everything, it was like just you dove right in. You know what I mean? It was almost like
Yeah.
you guys kind of took off right away. Rightfully so, but it
Yeah.
was like, is that like a weird, is there any weird interactions as far as like people just kind of look at you guys as like this huge rock star band, or
When it like, so Parker obviously kind of used to it, but
right?
and it was cool that, I think you can tell when there'll be a couple people that come for him. You know what I mean? Like a girl or a guy, and they're like kind of out of place at the show, but they love Parker, and they'll be like, oh my God, he's like in the room. Because you go to a Story So Far show, you can't really get on the stage. First
Yeah,
of all,
yeah.
you're not getting on the stage. The band's not just chilling at merch. So some people that aren't from like the punk or hardcore world are kind of like, oh my God, like, what are you guys doing right here? Like, you're just sitting there, like Parker's just sitting by the merch table. What the hell? And so I think that's cool to see. And like, he's super nice. He'll talk to everybody. And then like a couple people, a lot of people will come to me and be like, dude, like I loved Light Years, which feels really good.
Yeah.
But I'm like, did you? Like, where were you? I know that's not true, but they're like, oh, like blah blah blah. But that feels good sometimes when they'll say like, oh yeah, I listened to Light Years before, and I was like, I don't know. I know everyone that listens to Light Years, and I don't recognize you right now.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, sometimes it is cool to see like, especially like younger kids will be like shocked that we're just chilling, and it's not, because it's not, we didn't want it to be like that. And even, I don't know, we're just normal guys, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So sometimes I get kind of not like weirded out, but I'm like, holy shit, like a stranger's like Pat Kennedy. And I'm like, what? Like, how do you know me? Like,
Yeah.
which is cool.
That's the glasses, man. You take them off, people won't recognize you.
Exactly. That's why I've been wearing I wear a little head strap when I play, so people know it's me. I'm not Clark Kent.
That's funny. So I want a two-sided question. What is the most memorable show that you've played as Light Years and as No Pressure? Like the one that sticks out to you the most.
Dude, so there was a fest in Kent, Ohio, which is kind of where Light Years started. Like, just we were going to school at Kent State, and the bill is crazy to think about now, but like Citizen opened, and then it was like Light Years, Hostage Calm, Tiger's Jaw, something like that. Like, it was at the time, there was like 300 or 500 people in this basement of this college, but most of those bands went on to be super big. But it was one of the first times Light Years got like a reaction, or like kids like knew the songs, and I was like really blown away. I was like, oh my God, like I didn't have to, like, because I was in bands in high school, all, you know what I mean, all the time, and just like begging, hey, we're playing this weekend, we did the whole, we sold tickets, to try and get people to come, women, you know what I mean? You didn't know any better. And then like it was the first show that it was like, I was like, people were like staged, like singing along, like taking the mic for me. It was like everything I've ever wanted
Oh yeah.
to happen. And it happened, and that was pretty early on in Light Years, but it stuck with me, being like, oh, like chasing that high, I guess, all the time. And I like being like, and I guess a close second is, once I bring it back around and have this podcast, I'm talking about fucking Japan. But Light Years played in Tokyo, and it was like, it was the same. Like, it was like we were playing in Cleveland, and it was like, we would play in Pittsburgh and there'd be 7 people there. And then we go to Tokyo and it's like sold out. And it was, it was a weird, super awesome feeling of being like so far from home, but these people singing along in their third language,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
And yeah, so those I have specific memories of that. And also with Panameno, we played a show in Belgium. It was the first show of our European tour, and it was awesome. It was a similar vibe. It was like a packed room. I was like, oh my God, what is going on? We just played in fucking Boise, Idaho, and had to sleep in a garage,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so those three I could confidently say were like, I don't know, they kind of always followed me around in my head, and maybe why I always kind of tell people like light years always had like enough success to like justify keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
because people, I, it's like, oh, we did a whole tour, and it's like, well, that San Antonio show was good, so
Yeah.
we're just waiting for North Carolina to pick it up. Florida is going to be next.
They'll learn. They'll learn. They'll catch on.
Yeah, it was like because we had like 2 out of 30 were pretty good. That's not bad. But it was it was kind of like the
30.
bane, It was like
I just know
that's
that life
enough.
so much.
Brother. Come on, man. And it was like the one good thing out of the million bad things. You're like, hey, we had that one, and it's
Yeah.
like we can do another record and we'll do another tour. But No Pressure, similarly, the first weekend we did was we played in like San Francisco Bay down to LA. And that first show, I didn't know what to expect. The room was packed. But as soon as we played the first note, like people were like jumping on stage, like diving, and I was like, oh man, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of like it took me off guard. I got, just because I'm not used to that. And I was never, it happened 3 out of 400 times for years. But to have that feeling was amazing. But there was a show I'll never forget. We did a Chicago show. It got moved like last minute. It got changed to a matinee. So I was like, oh, this might be, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things working against this show, and it was unbelievable, dude. It was like the most people I've ever seen in a room, and it was like during the middle of the day. The lights were just on, and it was just so. I think we played at like such a high level too, and it was just that one kind of gave me goosebumps. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like this is cool. That is cool.
Awesome.
So there was a Chicago matinee show. Couldn't tell you the year or what the day was, but it was sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite band, and why is it Blink-182?
Yep, it's Blink. 100%. Do you know me, dude?
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
What are you guys spinning on tour? When you're in the van or whatever you're driving these days.
Yeah, dude, we did for No Pressure. It's kind of now a joke is that we don't listen to anything because Harry loves listening to music like really loud too. And we kind of were just like, hey, we did a whole Europe tour where we actually didn't have physically a way to plug our phone into this guy's van, but we just had no music.
Yeah.
And I loved it because you get into crazy discussions, like especially at night, you'll be like, dude, like are aliens just in the ocean, and like or just like deep personal stuff kind of comes out and you're like, oh my God, like I love you, like we're boys. Like I can't believe we're doing this. It happened, I know, at light years too, like the crazy talks that you get into. We were in the fucking middle of wherever at night and we're talking, really personal stuff. And you're like, this wouldn't happen if we were listening to End of the State for the 900th time today,
Right,
and but I did have like specific song, like I like to listen to, obviously like Blink is a number one rotation for me, and etc. bands of similar ilk, if you will. But like when the sun goes down and I'm driving overnight, like I would always put on like I remember Explosions in the Sky was like my night driving thing, which is not really my vibe other than outside of driving through Kansas at night. It just makes you feel like you're in a movie kind of,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And our bass player, he was always a little more broad with his music taste, and he loved like Radiohead, Nine Inch Nails and stuff. And at the time I was like, dude, fuck you, like this sucks. and then like now I'm like, damn, like some good songs there, and I hate to admit it, but as you get older, you learn to understand it. But these days I'm a kind of a podcast guy, and just like you had to, dude. You had to. It's awesome. Yeah, and now that Spotify put books on there, I'll just fucking listen to a book.
Yeah.
But I'm so old, dude. This is crazy.
It's so
Talking about
funny
listening to a book.
that you're saying that because like at work, I'm currently listening to Matt Pryor's book that just came out.
Oh, sweet. I'm gonna have to
And
listen to that.
which
Does he read it?
he does, yes. And
Okay,
it's
sweet.
fantastic so far. It starts
Yeah.
off with his childhood and then gets into the band. And it's so crazy, like not to get sidetracked, but it's just so crazy because I was thinking about it when you were saying like that Lightyear show that, you know, Citizen and Tiger's Jaw and all these bands.
Yeah.
It's just like so nonchalantly you name these bands and you're like, yeah, at the time that was like the beginning, you know, for them
Yeah.
and you guys. And
Yeah.
it's like not a big deal, but now you name those bands and you're like, holy shit, what a crazy
Yeah.
show. Whereas
Yeah.
he's talking about it in his book and he's like, so we played this show with Texas is the Reason and Mineral and you're like the royalties. And you're just
Yeah,
like, what?
yeah.
And oh, this band, they were half all right. And you're like, what the fuck, man? You know?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Yeah, that is so real because another nameless person, but Lightyears was just starting, like playing shows locally and like just super excited to be a band, you know, at this time. And I remember we housed a band that came through, and one of the members was kind of like poo-pooing everyone. And I get it now, you know what I mean? That him being just kind of like, I was like, oh, like, don't you like, I can't remember what we said, but like at the time I'd be like, oh, like 4 Year Strong is so sick. And like him being like, sure, like I guess, but like, you know what I'm saying? And he was like
yeah.
very like, yeah, we play with them all the time. Like they're nice guys, but
Yeah.
and I was like, dude, like what is this guy's deal? Like why is he so jaded already?
Yeah.
And then like fast forward like 10 years, I'd be like, sure, man, like that band's cool. But like, you know, like
yeah.
when you're just getting stepped on all the time, or it feels like you're getting stepped on, but I can see where he was coming from. But I remember being like, damn, this guy sucks. I'll never be like that. And like 3 years later, I was like, dude, if I have to hear someone tell me they like the Wonder Years one more time, I'm gonna kill myself.
Now you're like, oh, new 4 Year Strong record. All right, we're
Oh,
listening
shit.
to this
Yeah.
podcast.
Yes, yes. No, shout out for your strong. Those are my guys.
Oh yeah,
for sure. They let me guitar tech once. I had no idea what I was doing. But they liked it. They're good.
Oh yeah. Great new record, by the way. They killed it.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see here. What do I got for you? All right. What do you feel is your biggest accomplishment musically? Whether it's TM,
musically,
anything.
Dude, I mean, being able to, I remember another Buffalo connection, singer of Head North, Brett, right? Am I saying Brent? My guy. I'm sorry. He came up to me once. It was Lightyears had put out another record. I think it was our second record, full length. Could have actually been the third one that came out in 2016. No, it was 2016. Anyway, I'm sorry. This doesn't matter. But he was like, dude, you put out another record. And at the time I was like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. He's like, that's your second full length. Like that's impressive. He's like, I hope Head North can do that. And I remember being like, damn, that is kind of crazy. And like we did another one after that will just kind of, yeah, it's not like a, to use lack of a better term, like a legendary record, but it is there and it is in people's homes and it has our names on it. And it's like, I have this physical thing. The 30 fucking songs now that I wrote with my friends and we have proof. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and like, so sometimes I am the jaded guy who's like, oh, we should have blah, 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 blah. But then it's like, yo, this will be here forever, you know, as long as something, it was, you know, and it wasn't just a fun little hobby we did. It was a real thing. And
absolutely.
So sometimes I think like the volume, like putting out, you know, being a band that was serious enough to put out 3 full records that were on varying degrees of record labels, it is kind of amazing to me when you step back a lot of things are amazing to me when I step back, which I have to kind of remind myself to do, which I wish I would have done more at the time. But here we are.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but you're looking back on all that shit fondly still, you know. Like obviously you
100%,
guys are still a
100%.
band. You may not be playing as often, but you're still
Sure. They have
all
kids
the
now too, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But it's like
Yeah.
all these most of these stories you're sharing are from those days. You know what I mean?
100%. It's all
Yeah,
from that.
yeah.
Like, and it's made me who I am. It's made my path in life, you know, like I
Mhm.
wouldn't be doing, you know, a lot of my work is on the road now, like TMing or doing merch and stuff, which who knows how long I'll be able to do that. But it's all because of those fucking records that
Yeah.
are sitting in my basement. You know what I mean? And like that people will be like, "Oh, can you sign this record?" Like they'll bring it to a no pressure show, which is cool. And I'll like, "Wow." You know what I mean? They have a, "Can
Yeah,
you sign my
yeah.
Light Years thing?" And I was like, "Fuck." Um Parker will be out in a second, but and then um but yeah, it's really the coolest thing I've ever done. So,
Hell yeah. I love that
and I
answer.
always forget, like I forget, like I'm getting crazy here, but you know, like when you're in it, you're always looking at the next step, and you're like, oh, if we could only be like we were always like, oh man, like Citizens killing it, Turnover's killing it, like Real Friends, they're doing it. Like if we could get to there, but then like you know, I'm with bands that are at that level sometimes, and they're like, oh, if we can only get to XYZ, it's like, you know what I mean? Like someone's looking at like, oh, the traditional man, they went on tour. Like if
Yeah,
we can only do that, you know what I mean? And so you forget that you did it.
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
you know, it might not feel it then, but looking back, it's
for
amazing.
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny too because like I mean, that's a traditional record. That's my biggest accomplishment. We have 2 records
Bro,
on vinyl.
it's
That's all I wanted, you know.
dude, that's
It's like,
amazing. You
yeah,
know,
it's very cool.
bands don't get to do it at all. We
Yeah,
only get one.
absolutely. Especially in
Yeah.
today, like in the scene and everything, it's so cool.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
it- what is all right? This you're gonna probably have to like tame this down. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Funniest
I
moment.
like it.
Funniest moment you remember from tour
Oh man.
that won't get anybody in trouble.
Yeah. Funniest moment. Dude, there's things where you can't even like explain it because it's so absurd. Like we broke down in North Carolina and it was like a holiday, like New Year's or something. So no shops are open. And we're just calling every phone number I can find to get the van somewhere. And a guy answers, his name was Roger Bonds. He's this old ass dude in the hills of somewhere in North Carolina. And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I thought you were someone from back home," because he was from Ohio. He recognized my area code. And
Okay.
he's like, "Oh, I'll come and help. I'll help you guys out." So we get the van to him, and this dude is crazy. Like, first of all, comes out with a gun. Like, but he's like, "I just want to make sure," you know what I mean? And we were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're we're like, "Oh my God, we're fucked." He is like telling us about all his girlfriends back in Akron, Ohio, how he's involved with the gang, like the mob. And we were like, "Dude, we have to get out of here." But he's helping it. He's like fixing our van. Roger Bonds, my guy. He gets me on the phone. He's like, "Dude, I got a club in Akron you can play. I'm gonna call him right now." I'm like, "Yeah, we're good. You know, we're good."
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm on the phone with this dude. He's like, you know, the super Italian sounding, like he's like, "Oh, how much money you need, kid?" And I'm like, none, sir. Like we're not, we're good. And it's just like one of those things where explaining the story doesn't hit, but in the moment we were like freaking out kind of, and also like this guy's crazy, telling us about like he's all these girlfriends. He's like 80, you know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this girl came over," and I was like telling us how he, for lack of a better term, he said he had a rotation. He was like, "Yeah, you just rotate them through," and we were like, "Dude, you're so old," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the rotation came into our lexicon for the rest of that tour. Give him the rotation, but that's just one. It's just like we can just say like little words to each other now that just will send us into a frenzy, you know. And
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
I can't think of like something specific, but like that was hilarious at the time. You had to be there, but you know, it was
It
fucked
sounds
up.
funny. It sounds funny, Pat.
It sounds fun, dude. Trust me, if you were there.
All right, here's a good one. So when you're overseas or on tour, and honestly anywhere, how do you handle moments of homesickness? You know, have you been overseas long enough for you to feel homesick?
You definitely do. Yeah, I have for sure. Usually it's just kind of like I'll call my girlfriend because she's awesome. Like I'm on tour with some people that are like constantly on the phone, and that's what they got to do. But she knows kind of like I'm busy and she's busy, you know, especially when the time change is so fucked up. Like when we're in Australia, like I was being like, hey, like good morning. She's like, I'm going to bed. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. You know, talk to you in 12 hours, say hi.
Yeah.
But I just like, you know, my family was always, my mom was always really supportive and thinks it's really cool that I still do this. And so yeah, it's just kind of remembering that it is so nice to come home. And I think like if I didn't leave so much, maybe it wouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
love, you know, being home now. But yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder, man. Right?
No truer
So,
words have ever been spoken.
you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you know, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I do. I got to deal with these emotions, John. Shit.
That's funny. Yeah, I feel like I'm starting to get into the therapy session.
Yeah, man, let it out. I
Well,
should pay you.
not necessary. The friendship is payment enough.
There we
but-
go, man.
So basically, we're coming to an end here. If there's anything else you want to share, any stories that come to mind, feel free to do so. If not, we can just say our farewells.
Yeah. I mean, there was always, I mean, I know I've said it a million times, but just getting to do that for so long is amazing. I know I have like lifelong friends all over the world from touring, which is ridiculous. But dude, I keep thinking of this Pentimento tour. I don't know if it's because the flyer is there or just that was when all this
I'm
happened.
inceptioning you right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of funny because we both just did like it was like their first tour, our first tour. We both went to Europe for the first time. We shouldn't have been there. Like it was just like, yeah, we're doing every opportunity we can. But I remember we played El Paso. The show was crazy. Shout out Mike Hernandez. He's still my friend to this day. Booked the show. Keith. Afterwards, like, oh, you had to come to this taco place. You know, we always go after the show called Chico's. And it's like it's kind of gross, but it's like the spot, you know. And so we show up and there's like the whole show shows up. There's like, you know, everyone's coming. There's like 30, 50 people in this tiny little restaurant. And the workers are like, what's going on? Like, who are these people? And like, oh, this is the band. They're, you know what I mean? They're a band, they're on tour. And like, all right, play for us. And we like played acoustic, like, and the workers were like, yeah, like fuck yeah. And like there was a picture taken in there. I can see it now. But it was with Pentimento. We did like a Fall Out Boy song too. Like, you know what I mean? It was just like super cool, just like an organic, there he is.
Callback.
Fun moment with just like complete strangers in a restaurant in El Paso, Texas that I never would have gone to, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Very cool. All right, last question. What's in the future for the band? You guys writing, recording anytime soon?
Yeah. No Pressure's got we got a busy month. We're doing like the Japan, I said, and then playing that Furnace Fest. And we got a couple shows on the West Coast, and then hopefully we're gonna be writing again. Light Years is actually we're dusting it off the other day, kind of sent some demo ideas back and forth. So
hell yeah.
I don't know what form that will be, but I definitely don't think that's done yet as far as, you know, that's just what I do. That's what we do. I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't feel the need to be like, we're done, we're broken up, you know.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be the same, but it's like those are my guys. And
absolutely.
When we're all around, it's just kind of something will happen.
I love that.
But that is
I look forward to it.
Yeah. So new music, some shows. The cycle repeats, brother.
Fuck yeah.
It's just
Pat, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to catch up.
You.
It's been far too long. I'd love to have you
Yeah.
back on later on, you know, when you got some shit to promote.
Another 10
anything
years.
Like that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's hope it's not that long. But
Yeah,
no.
no.
If you want to promote any of your social media, anything like that, now's the time.
Yeah, you can find me out there. Pat Years. Get it? Light years. Pat Years. That's it. Yeah, we'll be out there.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate
Yeah, dude.
it. Everybody, thank you so much for sticking around, listening to the episode. Everything Pat's got going on with No Pressure and Light Years, all the links and everything will be down below in the description. Make sure you give the band a follow, support them, go see them on tour, go to Japan, go to Japan and see them.
Come out.
Do whatever you're gonna do. Buy the record, whatever you want to do. Share with a friend. Just support this man. He's a good person. He's good people. Yeah. So we'll see you next time.
Bye, bitch.